Hello and welcome, Peter Vaughan here again, following up some of my previous clips with a little bit of instruction on how I do what I do. Now over here I've got the building blocks of two languages. We have both letters and numbers through which we use to communicate and think and build with, I guess. So if I'm going to build a word like the word word, that word, and so it's spelt, has come from letters from that block, and each letter has come from somewhere. And not many people have taken the time to find out where they come from. So each letter actually has a description about what it represents and a position. So the letter W is the 23rd letter, the 23rd letter of the alphabet. 2 plus 3 is 5. If we go through here, there's 9 letters, another 9 letters, that's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So being the 23rd letter, and therefore the shape that it has, where did it come from and what does it represent? In hieroglyphs, the letter A, the beginning of the alphabet, started off like that. It's the head of an ox, and the ox was called Aleph. And the ox was used to change the environment very quickly by ploughing a field with a plough. The yoke over the ox's shoulders, it could really turn the turf over, and it could pull a cart and take a farmer's produce to the markets much easier than a man could do. So each particular symbol, the A up there, through the Phoenicians and the Romans, changed itself until it ended up like that. There's our modern A. So there's the old ox. The letter W is a mountain between two higher peaks, and it represents the 23rd. Now every letter and its position have a matching set of information that make it what it is and what it does. The letter 2 and the letter 3 both have reference terms that describe them. And the number 2 represents detail and patience and checking. Very, very calm, quiet number. Whereas 3 is quite the opposite. It represents fun and excitement and creativity. It's got the opposite effect. So when you bring the 2 together, you get 5. And the letter number in its reduced form says, I like change. So everywhere that the W, and imagine that you're standing at that point in a W, you have a vision there and there. You are not aware of what's around you. So the W represents the peak where you think you're acting from is only seeing what's in this area of your vision, but not this, until you change focus. And then they start to look at the detail and they find all the excitement in that area. Then they change focus yet again. So the person who has that letter in their name, especially as the first letter of their name, like the name Wayne, Wyatt, William, it represents the same thing. So letters have a history. And from this, the understanding of how the letters create a word to make, and like the word word, to make something comprehend that we can write down and give to somebody else so that they understand what you're talking about. So there's a lot to this particular subject that most people do not realize at all. Now, when you have a word, it's made up of more than one letter, and so therefore, if I put dog up there, and those are the other numbers underneath those letters there. 4 plus 6 is 10, and 7 is 17. 1 plus 7 reduces to 8. Key word for 8 is authoritative, or strength of authority. It's a power number. It has a great deal of balance or imbalance, and it's based on looking at the top part, which is mind, and the bottom part is matter. When you get down to what the numbers mean, it's not about numbers anymore, it's about what they represent. So having an understanding of this, you can now develop a person's name and understand things in their name. And I'm just going to show you a quick one on the name David. Now, I use this a lot in my seminars, but people don't understand it because they haven't seen it yet. So here's your turn. Each letter in the alphabet has a duration of time and meaning through time. When a baby is born, it doesn't understand language. One sound is heard more than anything else along with their emotion, and it's their name. So I didn't know what Peter meant when I was a baby, but I'm sure that my mother, when she picked me up, all the other siblings in my family, helped me out when I was a baby, they called me Peter when I was disturbed, startled, or even just talked to. That sound came out all the time. And I recognised that that sound, with emotion, tied the two together in a thing in my brain called the amygdala and the hippocampus, which is your memory and your fight-flight mode. So when you have the name David, made up with different letters, they're different from Peter. That's the fourth letter. That's the first letter. That's another 4 here in the V. Oh, where are we at there? DMV. It's the 22nd letter, but it's still a 4 when you reduce it down for addition. The I is 9 and the D is 4. 4, 5, 5 and 4 is 9, 18 and 4 is 22. Now, although 22 will reduce to a 4, we're talking about time here. The name David takes 22 years for the brain to go through impressionism on the neuron cells inside the amygdala. Now, this is something I've had to research and discover. It was nothing to do with what people might say, oh, you're making this up, it just seems to fit the bill. No, that's crap. And I can show that when I do teach this stuff, I have been for some time. So here's something with David to show you that it actually has a merit. If David and the name runs for 22 years in a cycle of life for Davids, so here's their lifetime, that's where they're going, that's where, life runs out, and up here's where they start, and they go through. Let's just say here's 22. Well, crikey, it might even be here actually, without going too far down the track. 22 years, there's your 22-year age bracket. Once David goes through 22 years, it doesn't finish, it starts all over again. So David, like a stuck record. I said that the letter A represents a change in the structural or the living conditions very, very in a big way, with the ploughing of the field or pulling a cart. Therefore, I don't pull carts or plough fields in my life, but any letter A that pops up at particular timing, based on this, that pops up, it pops up for 1 year. Hence the value underneath it. It has a timing factor with it. And when that one pops up for 1 year, it represents I will have a major change in my life or living conditions at the appointed time. Here's some proof. I don't know how many Davids there are in the world called David, but I'm sure there's a lot. So if I said that every David in the world, every one of them, at age 27, 49 and 71, specifically those years, they all have a major change in their life or their living conditions. How do you prove that? Well, statistics proves that. Empirical data has proven that. And if you know any Davids or you are a David and you're 27 years of age, here's how it worked. Your name expires after 22 years and then reforms and starts again like a circle. So 22 years plus 4 takes you through to 26. Once that D is expired of 4 years of use, you run into that A, and that A is 27 years of age. Once you go through your name a second time round, that would now become 44 years. And it goes around again. So 44 plus 4 is 48, and 1 is 49. 3 times David is 66, plus 4 is 70, and 1 is 71. Now David Attenborough, the naturalist, the guy who's done a huge amount of work with insects and creatures and bush and all sorts and filmed it, and he's known all over the world, and he's still alive. He's a grand old fellow. However, when he was 71, what happened in his life? That was a major change or turning point. You might think, well, what could happen? Well, his wife died. That's a major turning point in his life. So if that happens here, how does that work? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up our Prime Minister and do a rundown on her numbers to see what we can find out, what her personality is like as a person, what the time frame is of where she's at in life, how she will do at the elections this year, and if there's anything else that might pop up out of it. I think you're going to find that fascinating. And I just happen to have prepared a chart here. I'm going to let you see this. It won't make much sense to you, but it is a chart from which I can read from her entire life. And there's nothing in there that can be hidden at all. I've been doing this for 40 years this year, and it's something that I'm very proud to have done and achieved, because I believe that when we get this into the system, we'll be able to make sense of the world in a better way and show you how to improve the quality of your life. One of the great things that I've done was I've made many predictions over the years which are written up. One of the biggest ones I had recently was in October the 20th last year, in 2019, where I made a story up and put it online, and it's on my website, where I said that 2020 represented, that's the calendar year, represented what's called double death. When I said that, I have to verify it. 4, 5, 1, 2 and 8 equals 20 when you add it up. We've now got 2020, which represents double death. And you might say, oh, that's just a coincidence. I'm going to go back to hieroglyphs here when I did the ox and the other letters that I can put up there. Egyptian word for death is Ka, K-H-A. And they have symbols for it. And the symbol for Ka is a bird man, and a dead ball. So could you imagine that there's a, looks a bit like this. It's got a beard, it's got a human head, and it's got a bird body. And in front of it, the symbol is a ball that's coloured black, and that represents the word Ka. Now if I take K, H and A up here and start to look at it, I can go that K is actually the 11th letter of the alphabet, H is the 8th letter, and A is the first. 11 and 8 is 19, and 1 equals 20. So what they had in their languaging back then resulted to the same thing. And just to show you that it's not coincidental, the opposite to birth is death. Sorry, I apologise. Sometimes I make a mistake. Birth. 2, 9, 9, 2 and 8 equals 30. So that's what birth represents. The Egyptian word for birth is Ba, B-A. 2 and 1. And 2 plus 1 equals 3. How this works is what made me stick with this thing for the years. Now I can predict the future for any person, any business, predict the conditions of this year. And on my website, when I talked about this particular aspect here, double death, I said there will be major international interferences or problems. You can actually go and see this on site. There will be health conditions or a problem, a financial crash. All of those things have happened, and it's now April. You'll see in the footnotes I'll put down my website, and I'll also put the link in for my storyboard you can go and have a look at on my website for petervaughan.net. Thanks for watching. I'll now get on with building a chart up on the board, and we'll look at Jacinda Ardern, and we'll have a look at that. Stick around to see this. You're going to find it fascinating. Is she going to win in the election this year?